Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call. We have a package here from Lee in Ketchikan, Alaska. Hi to all my viewers in Alaska. I don't know how many there are. I have only been to one place in Alaska, and it was Ketchikan. I had a friend who actually used to be the manager of the McDonald's there many, many years ago. And he invited myself and a friend up to visit because I'd never been to Alaska and it wasn't that long of a flight. And we had an amazing time. Ketchikan is like, I think, the southernmost city in Alaska. Alaska kind of comes down the coast of Canada, British Columbia. So a lot of the coastal, like upper coastal range of British Columbia is actually Alaska. And that's where Ketchikan is. And if I recall, you can't drive to Ketchikan. You can only fly or drive up in Canada and then take a ferry over. It's kind of on an island, but it was so beautiful. And I remember on that trip as well, we were driving around. He had a big full-size pickup truck and we saw a bear just like walking across the road in front of us. The place was amazing. I mean, if you like wilderness, the Pacific Northwest has got tons of it, but that means going all the way up British Columbia and into Alaska. It's just tons of wilderness and lots of wide open space with big trees and mountains, and yeah, amazing stuff. So let's see what Lee has sent all the way from Alaska. Oh, looks like we have some kind of a bag here. Looks like a computer in here of some kind. Oh yeah. Alrighty, we got some Haribo fruit salad. Not my favorite. It's very sugary. It's funny that this probably was made in Turkey, then it got all the way up to Alaska, and then it made its way back down to me. Okay, there's a letter. Just see, that's it for what's in the box. All right, here is the letter. It says, apologies for taking so long for this to get to you. I couldn't bring myself to just send one item, so I opted to send an additional donation for you to explore. I saved this leading edge laptop many years ago and it's been sitting in my garage for far too long. The last time I used it, the ancient battery took a while to charge up enough to send a working voltage to the laptop itself while the power supply protested. I trust you'll be able to find or craft a workaround or find some use for the component parts. You'll also find the Mytac MPC 160T manual in the pockets of the laptop case. And that's right, I was talking to Lee about it, that Mytac PC, which I had a PC archaeology episode on, I think it was on the main channel. I didn't have any manuals or any documentation for it. I couldn't really find any on the internet either. But that machine was in mint condition, or is in mint condition. I've actually passed that computer along to another local retro YouTuber, Ravenwolf. I think that's the name of his channel. It's Mike, actually. I will put a link in the description to his channel, but I'll make sure to scan this manual and then I'll pass the manual on to Mike. But the scan will be on archive.org for anyone else who has a Mytac PC who might want to have access to it in the future. Lee goes on to say that he watches my channel and absolutely loves it. Keep up the fascinating content and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, okay, cool. Thank you very much, Lee. Let's first take a look at the manual. So yeah, this laptop carrier is seen better days, but look, there it is. The Mytac MPC 160T personal computer manual, and look, software too. Probably to control the turbo speed or whatever. This is pretty darn sweet. Sort of a lot of stuff about just like working with DOS and whatever. What couldn't I figure out exactly on here? But anyhow, as I said, I will scan this in and I'll image these disks. It seems to be MS-DOS 3.2 and whatever's on there, like a backup of something, or release 303. I don't know. Maybe there's some extra software on there. It certainly doesn't really talk about it in here. It just talks about installing extra cards. And oh, here's the jumper settings. Okay, cool. So there we go. J7 is power on to 4.77 or power on to 8 megahertz. Run T8 to change the system clock to 8 megahertz or T5 to change to 4.77. There's almost certainly just an I/O port that little program, that COM program, just hits or toggles or whatever to switch the system speed. There's also a 128K additional memory bank switch, which allows you to have 768K. That's 128K more than the maximum memory of the XT. The additional 128K memory shares the same address space of the top 128K of the system address space, 512K to 640. The bank switch is controlled by port CO bit 6. So you can swap out that entire top 128K? Like, why? What's going to use that? So power on default, active bank, and user flexible. User has to clear memory before using this bank at first time. Parity check will occur if memory does not clear. Oh, look at this note here. If you want to use the additional memory reserved, you must design the software yourself. I mean, what? What? That is so hilarious. Like, people buying this are just buying it to have a PC clone. Not bad. Like, build your own software. Oh yeah, okay, so here's the motherboard connections, jumper settings for like the RAM stuff, software speed select timing option 1, option 2, enable floppy drive, oh, this is interesting, real-time clock status, dip switch settings. Okay, so this is certainly, that is helpful right there. So like I said, I will scan this and have that ready to go on archive.org. And as I said, I will image these disks. Hopefully I can get an image of them. We can at least get that one utility. Okay, what else has Lee sent? The Dictionary of Computer Terms. You know, I definitely had one of these back in the day. It's from Barron's Business Guides. $8.95 and $11.95 in Canada. And yeah, this was like a little pocket reference that just, I don't know, supposedly helped you with something. I guess before we had the internet. Oh, look, it's talking about DOS clusters, and there's a basic program, Motorola 68000C microprocessor. Looks like there's gate logic in here and just all sorts of stuff on PC related stuff. And there's a poke, for example, Commodore 64 computer, memory locations 532A1 control the color of the screen, and 2 is the code for the color red. So therefore that poke gives you red on the screen. That's pretty fun, actually. Let's see when this was published. It says copyright 1989, and there's parts of it 1986. It looks like probably has multiple editions or whatnot, or at least 2. So that's pretty fun, cool. All right, let's see what's in the laptop bag. Oh boy, it's a leading edge, all right. It is a leading edge. So there is the power supply and a very yellow leading edge computer here. You know, I had a PC archaeology on the leading edge desktop PC. It was a, what was that machine? I think it was an XT. I actually gave that machine away as well to a local viewer slash retro computer enthusiast here in Portland. I mean, I only have so much room and I can only keep so many XT class computers. And of course, I have a 5150 and a 5160 from IBM. So a lot of the clone ones aren't so special to me. I don't have nostalgia in my heart specifically for those clones. But when I gave the leading edge computer to Cal, I'm pretty sure that I think he said that he had one of those way back in the day. So he definitely has some nostalgia. Now this thing is actually in pretty nice shape. State of the art. That's cool. Obviously that is a modern P-Touch sticker there. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is used. It's not too dirty. It's yellow all around, which is interesting. So it wasn't just like the sunlight, because it's evenly yellowed. And Ketchikan is not like super duper cold all the time, but I don't think it really gets that hot there either. It looks like on the side there's a power input. Maybe this releases the battery or something. Is this the power switch? Probably. On the back, looks like we have a possible modem that could be there, but it isn't on this one. Oh, come on. This thing's difficult to open. There we go. All right, so I assume that's a keyboard connector there. It's a DIN. That would be VGA. All right, so this is like a 386 probably, SX I bet, or a 286. We have parallel, we have serial. That is it. There's a crack there in the case. And on this side, we have a floppy drive. We have keyboard external or internal. That's right, you can't have 2 at the same time. And then we have probably brightness and contrast. And on the bottom, that's the color the machine should be. It's kind of that leading edge color. And then this is the battery here. Battery lock or release. Before I power this up, I'm just gonna take the battery out. I mean, I don't think you really need to have the battery in the machine. Let's see how this comes out. I think I have to release that. Does this slide out somehow? Oh, and actually it looks like there I've locked the battery, I think. Battery release, you turn it that way. Okay, I'm pretty sure that the power connector here is integral to the battery. Kind of moving around, but I don't, oh, there we go. Oh, so it didn't have a crack, wow. Huh, look at that, there's the original color of the plastic. So I suppose it is yellowed, and there's the battery, 7.2 volts, 2.8 amp hour. And I would imagine these are like NiCad cells in there or something like that. And I suppose that the neat thing is you can just plug in the power supply with this externally and actually charge the battery. It's probably why they did that. But then of course the problem is that we can't run the computer without the battery installed. Let's try to get the battery back in here. There we go. That's not super easy. It's funny how it has this like raised section right here. The power supply, which is the original leading edge one, has two output modes, but it seems to put 12 volts out for both. And the charge, different charge amounts. So I'm assuming it's got multiple pins, so it must sense the, ooh, look at the strain relief has come right off there. That's intriguing. Oh, it's one of those like movable connectors there. I'm assuming it has some sense signals, so it can tell what kind of battery, like the extended capacity battery or, so let's plug this in. I'm just trying to figure out which way it goes. There we go. Made a weird chirpy noise. Okay. It's making some noises, like high-pitched noises out of the machine. It's not coming from the power supply. It's actually coming from the computer itself. So there's obviously like some voltage regulator or something in there. Okay, and yeah, nothing is happening. No life, and there's a standby button right here. So I suppose we should just let it sit for a while, let it try to charge up, see if it eventually comes to life. You know what I'm gonna do while this sort of sits here? I will stick it off to the side here, and I'm going to open up another package. And that way, if this thing decides to catch on fire or something, I will have my eye on it. Alrighty, the next package here comes from Andrew in Tucson, Arizona. I know all my viewers in the very hot state of Arizona. I'm assuming this summer has been very hot there. I mean, it's always pretty hot in Arizona anyways. And it's just been really hot in the entire US. There's been a lot of heat wave action going on. Even Portland here, we've had a bunch of days at 100 degrees, which of course for us is really hot. All right, well, looks like we have some discs. And we have another box and a letter. Andrew writes, Adrian, thank you for your videos. And as a small gift to help things along, I found these fresh in the box 5 1/4 inch discs. Complete in plastic and hard case storage. I hope they are useful for you, and if not, please pass them along to someone who could make constructive use of them. I'm unfortunately getting rid of my 20th century stock of computer hardware and doing my 20th century computing via emulator. I wish I had a basement. And that's right, I'm having a basement in the west side of the US. It's not super normal. I'd say like Portland, Seattle, yes. Down in California, not so common. I mean, I've lived in old houses there too, and they didn't have them. And Arizona, even though it's funny because if you think about it, in Arizona, if you dug yourself a basement, you would be so much cooler. Like even on 100-degree days without air conditioning, it's nice and cool down in the basement here. So people there would have really benefit from it. But I think most new construction doesn't have basements even here. And a lot of the construction in Arizona is relatively new. Because it gets so hot there, it wasn't really easy to live in Arizona when it got super hot and there was no air conditioning. So unfortunately, unless you have like a huge house or a big outbuilding, it's not super easy to have a lot of these retro computers because they do take up a lot of space. And I think I'm always complaining about the fact that I'm running out of space as well, even though I have this pretty sizable basement that's almost entirely devoted to all the retro computers. So anyhow, here is the box of discs as I open the plastic on it, of course. It is a Xerox double-sided, double-density, soft sector, unformatted, 48 tracks per inch, quantity 10. So these will just be really nice, brand new 5 1/4 inch discs. That is awesome. Now, of course, just because they're brand new doesn't guarantee, in fact, it's funny, look how the label is faded there a little bit. That doesn't guarantee that these are gonna be good and working discs. In fact, there's like a little bit of a curvature that shouldn't be there. But I'm gonna say that these look okay. Like if these have been stored at their entire life in a climate controlled place, then they're probably fine. It's really when they're in hot and cold all the time, it really does a number on these discs. They look super, super nice though. So Andrew, thank you very much for that. Basically, I do have a good number of 5¼ inch discs. They're used, almost all of them. I have very few brand new ones like this. And what I do, and I've shown this on the channel before, is I use a program like NFormat or what's the FormatQ on a PC to bulk format discs. And I basically just stick it in there, and with FormatQ, you can set a flag to say if there's any errors, it makes an audible error tone. And if the disc is good, there's a different good tone. So you stick a disc in, it formats, you don't have to pay attention, you just listen. And as soon as the disc has an error, it makes this tone. And I take the disc out and I throw it in the trash. So basically that's what I do. I go through all my discs, and with 5¼ inch discs, they're relatively reliable. It seemed like they made them quite well. They were very expensive compared to the later 3½ inch discs that got really, really cheap. And because of that, I think they put a lot of effort into making them good quality and reliable. They seem to generally be pretty good. And even when they're stored in bad environmental conditions, some brands end up getting mold on them, and a lot of them can end up not working. But other brands are good. Now, I don't think Xerox actually manufactured their own discs. Someone else probably made these for them. I say that because I think there's pretty much like these companies like 3M that are experts in magnetic media and are the ones who actually manufacture this stuff. Like Verbatim, I think, was another one. And they probably OEM their discs out to companies like IBM, Xerox, Apple, stuff like that, so that they could sell their own branded discs. And I think that's what's going on right here. So I don't know if these are really good quality, but the fact is this one's unopened, has the plastic still on it. And if these were stored in a nice, cool temperature their entire life, then these probably work absolutely perfectly. So yeah, so thank you very much, Andrew, for sending in these brand new old stock Xerox discs. That's very cool. I'll put that in my pile to format in the future. All right, let's see what's going on with the laptop here. Is it back to life? It's not making as much weird noise anymore, but we still don't have any activity on those power LEDs. I just want to make sure that this is really the power switch. Yes, it is. It's 0 and 1 there. So I'll just stick this off to the side there, let it charge some more, and let me grab another package. All right, here is a package from Michael, and Bitfixer is the name of his company. Basically, I have shown stuff from Michael before on the channel. He makes some awesome stuff for the 6502, specifically the FPGA ROM RAM replacer for the PET or any 6502 machine for that matter. And I showed a demo of it running on a VIC-20 where I actually used a Raspberry Pi to alter memory of the running machine. I will put a link in the description below to that. It was super cool. Apparently, after talking to Michael, what I was doing was kind of breaking the rules. I mean, it's not like it's gonna damage the computer, but basically, he said when you do stuff like that, it can like mess up the stack pointer as the computer is running and just cause it to crash, which I did see occasionally. What he has gone ahead and done, and he has already clued me into this, is he has come up with a new version of the FPGA ROM RAM replacer. Why am I struggling to open this thing? It's taped on the inside, that's why. All right, this is extricated from the box. He has released a new version of this that is for the Z80 processor. So this could help you troubleshoot things like the TRS-80 that I recently had on the main channel, because you can replace all of the RAM and the ROM with this board. Basically, it plugs into the CPU socket and it intercepts any of the addressing that goes to the motherboard, and you can tell it, instead of going to the motherboard, go to the FPGA on the little board here. So there it is, that's the FPGA board itself. It's also a 40-pin DIP. And this is the little adapter PCB. It plugs into the motherboard, then you have a socket on there and the CPU plugs into that, and then the FPGA is on here. And then there's a pin header on the FPGA board right there, and that's what you plug into a Raspberry Pi, which allows you to do all the configuration stuff. You load the ROM images into it, you create the memory maps and all that stuff. In fact, I thought there's dip switches. Oh yeah, this is dip switch block right here. Those pins, and he has the dip switch block right there. And that allows you to select the memory maps and all that stuff. It's extremely useful. In fact, I also used this on repairing a PET recently where there was a RAM chip error. There was a page RAM error that I was only able to really figure out with this thing. It's super flexible, and that's what I love about it specifically. So let's check out his letter. Here we go. Hey Adrian, here are two of the ROMulator Z80 kits. Hope you enjoy them. The included FPGA boards are unprogrammed. I don't have much in the default settings yet, so you can try most any computer right now and you have to program them anyways. Pretty much the same as with the 6502 version, but now there are some new build targets. In the make file, it's make program_Z80 to build and program from the Raspberry Pi, or make ROMulator Z80 to just build the firmware without programming. I've also included one of the standalone programming kits, which uses the D1 mini microcontroller board to interact with the ROMulator instead of the Pi, which I thought might be useful to you. And he goes on to say, up-to-date information on everything should be at bitfixer.com/docs, and any questions, feel free to ask, reach out, etc., etc. Mike. And as I've talked about previously, I'm not gonna try these out right now because that's gonna take some setup and stuff. I've talked about how fantastic this entire thing is, really because what I love about it is it's really inexpensive. Mike is not charging a lot for this entire thing. In fact, it's cheaper than the other ROM RAM replacement things that are out there for the 6502 at least. I haven't seen how much he's charging for this. And yet, compared to those other ones, which basically have like a pre-programmed set of ROM images for the PET, these are programmable on the fly and are great for debugging because you can dump the entire memory that's on this right into the Raspberry Pi where you can look at it. So that's something you can't do on the other ones. Super flexible, and I think this will be super great as well for a similar reason. Machines like the ZX Spectrum don't do bank switching. The TRS-80 Model 1 and 3 don't do bank switching. I don't think he's going to support bank switching because, of course, the Model 2 and most CPM machines bank switch in and out the ROMs to give you a full 64K of RAM, but it's possible that he does support that. It's just the way the bank switching works on every machine is different. So it's not something that's universal that you can just program for. By the way, I just have to say, like, this packing tape, it is so unbelievably sticky. Like, it's so hard to get off of these. It leaves a horrible sticky residue on everything. And right here, I just had it on the side, is the 6502 version of the ROMulator. And this is the Raspberry Pi that I use for programming. So that's the little programmer module that you connect up to load the FPGA with all the configurations. I'll have to check the documentation, but I'm assuming I can use this same board to actually program these. But as Mike was saying, I think this right here is a microcontroller that you can use instead of the Raspberry Pi, since getting a Raspberry Pi is so difficult. And again, he used this tape that I can't open. Okay, and it looks like an 8266, or is that the ESP32? I can't quite tell. But he's using that microcontroller onto here, and I guess, whoops, with a ribbon cable or whatever, that can program this and probably the Z81 as necessary. So that's awesome. I will put a link in the description to Mike's website, which is bitfixer.com, but also I will link to my previous videos where I use the 6502 one to do some awesome repairs on machine. Totally invaluable tool, totally invaluable. All right, I've given this thing enough time to charge up and it wasn't doing a thing. So I took the battery out here and I noticed when I plugged this in, there's a couple of power LEDs on this power supply, but nothing is happening. Now this thing is warm, so I think it's doing something, but I wanted to see, is there any voltage coming out of this at all? That would be no, nothing at all. So of course the computer is not gonna work because there's no voltage. Let's see if I can register anything on these pins here without causing a spark or something. Nothing on that pin, nothing on that pin. And there's one more pin right here, which has nothing as well. So I think this power supply has gone and died. Probably didn't like trying to charge that battery up, I don't know. Okay, well, what I can do, let's, why don't we just try to power this thing directly here, right off these pins. The one thing we can do here is we're gonna need to figure out what is the ground pin. So I'll have to open the door here. So I'll just go there. Nope, nope. All right, so this rightmost pin is ground. Now, there's gonna be probably like a positive here, and there'll be like a sense pin or something. And I don't know what's what. But the fact is, this battery claims that it is a 7.2 volt battery. Now, of course, when you charge up that, it would be more than that, but why don't we give this laptop 7.2 volts, and we'll see if that actually does anything. And I'm gonna try the positive on the pin on the left. I have the bench power supply set for 7.2 volts at 1 amp. Flip this around, open that, and here we go. All right, we're getting like 1 milliamp of current there. All right, it looked like it tried to start. You see a little flash there, and then it cut off. So I'm gonna give this more than 1 amp here. Let's go to 3 amp. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. Got power LED and stuff. Computer sounds like it's working. It's using about 1.7 amps right now. I just heard a seek, and it sounds like a hard drive is running. Ah, there's the backlight. Oh yeah. That is so hard to read. It is insane. Let's like reposition the camera here. You know, I don't even know if this is coming across in the camera. It does appear to be leading edge M3 SX28. It's got 1 meg of extended memory, 640K, so I guess 2 megs of RAM. Diskette 0, seek failure. Diskette 1, seek failure. Check some error in extended CMOS, invalid configuration. Push F2 to enter the CMOS settings. I really don't think you're seeing anything on the camera here. There is actually backlighting. It's just extremely dim. Okay, yeah, this is just, I can't even read this with the camera because I'm having to look at an off angle. It's impossible. And honestly, in the camera, it looks like it's just black. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely writing there. All right, I'm gonna plug in the VGA monitor. I gotta put this computer to sleep, otherwise this stupid monitor just keeps like auto-selecting. There's no way to shut that off. Let's switch to VGA here. Okay, so there's VGA. Maybe when I power it on with that connected, it'll like use that instead of the screen. No, it went to the screen, and I don't see a button or like a function here. There's a function key with like what looks like numeric keypad keys, but there's nothing for like the monitor. Like, you know, maybe one of the F keys would switch to a different external monitor or something. That does not. Ah, sorry, you're unhappy. I get that. Yeah, so maybe there's a setting in the CMOS or some other short. Okay, that's though loud and annoying. There might be like a shortcut that's not labeled on the keyboard to switch to the external monitor. This right here is one of the reasons why I kind of hate laptops from this era. Because the screens, while they may have been okay at some point, the backlight is so worn out that basically you just can't see anything anymore. And I literally can barely read anything here. I can tell I'm in the CMOS setup, but that is it. I know on the camera, there's nothing showing up here. So as I said, yeah, 3.5-inch disk drive, internal, external. Hard disk 1 not installed, so it's not even seeing it. CPU speed high, coprocessor not installed. Press page up for feature control options. Okay, here we go. System BIOS shadow, video shadow, memory relocation, EMS, video attribute, reverse video, and LCD expanded mode on, power conservation, password, numlock, hard disk timeout. There is nothing on here about external monitor, unless it's like normal video, reverse video. That's the only thing you can change. LCD expanded mode on or off. And yeah, that's it. There's just these 2 pages. So there must be like a hidden key press combo, whatever, on here that like, I guess I could just like push the function key and buttons here and try to get it to go to the external screen. What's so hilarious right now is I just turned the backlight all the way down. Like, and whether it's on or off, I could see it's trying to light the screen up, but it is so dim. It's basically the equivalent of doing nothing. It's just like LCD technology back then. It was not good, everyone. It was really not good. Oops, the power cable just fell off the back anyways. So anyhow, there it is. A leading edge laptop. Kind of call this like the malaise era of PC laptops. They were plentiful, but really just so substandard because the screen was so sad on a lot of these. Certain ones had a better reflective screen that was more usable, I'm not sure, like, when this came out, was it the same time as those Apple, like, PowerBooks? Or is it the same time as the Macintosh Portable? That at least had like a trans-reflective screen, so you could see it in bright light. This has a backlight screen that just isn't particularly readable. But yeah, DNE206SX, that's the model number of this thing. And it does have a Phoenix sticker here, copyright 1990, made in Korea. And that's it, same old, same old. And interesting, and I know you can't see this, there's a big stripe right here on the screen that has bad pixels, so unfortunately that LCD has seen better days. Now, does anyone know? Is there a modern replacement for this LCD you can buy that makes it like readable and good? I mean, it's not gonna be color, it's gotta be monochrome, but that would be kind of cool. As for this battery, it's possible to get this apart somehow. It's like probably sonically welded or whatever, so it's kind of destructive, but maybe replacement batteries could go in there, which could make this thing work again. But yeah, this power supply has given up the ghost as well, and as kind of what I expect from this era of laptop, things are just super unreliable with PC laptops from this era. The screens are always terrible, the disk drives fail, hard drives are dead, batteries are all dead, and they're not serviceable parts, and yeah, it's just kind of par for the course, unfortunately. So yeah, anyhow, that is gonna be that. So thank you very much, Lee, for sending in this leading edge laptop, but more importantly, this manual here for the Mytac, which I will scan and image those discs, as I mentioned before. And then thank you, Mike, for sending in, look at this is that tape residue I was talking about. These Z80 versions of the ROMulator. So yeah, if you have a Z80 machine you're trying to troubleshoot, I highly recommend picking one of these up because you can figure out a lot of stuff when you can map out the ROM and the RAM, which takes out all that select logic as well, in case that is the problem, because you could have problems where you can't boot that aren't just the ROM or RAM chips if the chip select logic is bad. So that might be a good troubleshooting process for that, and that's of course the 6502 one, which you can still buy at on his website. And then thank you, Andrew, for sending in these new old stock floppy disks. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like this, comment down below if you know more about this machine and all this kind of stuff. And of course, check the link in the description. I'll put links to various things as I've mentioned, and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it. Thanks for my patrons. Their names are scrolling up the side of the screen. So that is gonna be that. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.